Hi guys, thank you for joining me. Today's Pericast is on sparring. So let's just get something out of the way straight away. Sparring is not the activity of holding pads. There are lots of people that will say, oh, I was doing some sparring on the pads. And it's not the right. Hi Andy, and hi to Torna GW, I think that's the name there. Hi. Sparring is not the activity of holding pads. That's called pad work or padding. Sparring it's a learning activity, and sparring is when two people put on sparring gloves and practice fight each other. The whole purpose of sparring is it is a learning experience, and I'm going to go through a couple of things that firstly that you're going to need. So the first thing that we need to do, it is the purpose of it is to learn and not to get injured. That's the point of it, not to get injured. The equipment that you're going to need. So first thing that you're going to need is, right, can you see this glove? Now this glove here is called a bag mitt. The thumb here is not stitched in, and it has seams stitched across there. You must not use this type of bag mitt for sparring, because these little seams here can cut you. The thumb is not stitched in. Now a sparring glove is different. A sparring glove, this is my sparring glove. A sparring glove must have, like a contest glove, a stitched in thumb. Now this is not to protect your thumb, this is actually to protect the eye of your opponent. Since 1988 all boxing gloves have had a stitched in thumb, and you should not, it's always up to the coach if your glove is okay to use for sparring. If the coach says to you, no, you haven't got enough padding on there and they don't want you to use them for sparring, then fair play, it is the coach's choice. You don't wear, like one guy wears really hard gloves and the other person wears really padded gloves, because it's just not fair that. You need a smooth surface, not rough, because this again could cut someone if it hits them. But the most important thing is the thumb is stitched in so that doesn't stick into here and cause a detached retina, which is a very dangerous thing to happen. You can see that this glove here has a bump there. Again, now that protects the eye of my opponent. So this is the striking face here, and it's not going to injure the person. Now sparring gloves come in different weights. Very informative, no problem, this is just basic stuff. A sparring glove comes in different weights. Hi Andy, first parry I've watched, no worries, that's cool. Now these come in different weights. So you see this is quite a big glove here, can you see that's quite big? These are 14-ounce gloves. Now a 14-ounce glove has a bigger profile. I'm going to show you a contest glove. This is a contest glove. Do you see it has a bigger profile? It's bigger than a contest glove. It's also heavier. This is harder for my shot to come through a gap between two gloves if this is bigger. And also the weight of the gloves slows my punch down. So this glove is going to hurt my opponent less. Now let's have a quick look at here's another sparring glove. Now this is one that is a 12-ounce one. This is much more, it's a much more basic one, but it's got loads of padding on there. And this one here is a Velcro opening, so it's quick to get on. Oh, wrong hand. Quick to get on and off. So these tend to be used more for pads and bag and for sparring. This one here, my own personal one here, is a lace-up one. This is where I actually say I don't use Boxercise sparring gloves for sparring myself. So despite the fact I've got this on, I actually don't use our products for sparring. The reason I don't is that I use Cleto Ray's ones. They're very, very expensive. That's the only thing. Are you going to punch a teddy bear? I'm not going to punch a teddy bear, but thank you very much for asking. These ones here have a lace up, so they are tighter on here. So they're a much, much different glove. And you make me really want to try it. But, well, go for it, guys. Now, a contest glove. Contest gloves. 10-ounce gloves for those who are over 70 kilos, over 64 kilos, and 8-ounce gloves for those who weigh less than that. The padding in them is a little bit softer and it doesn't hold up to things as much. It's just the side. He breaks the gloves and his trainers stop taking him on the pads. Well, he must be a very hard puncher. Now these are contest gloves, and they would normally be taped up like this for a contest. So that's the difference between a contest glove and the difference between a sparring glove. The difference is the weight. So there's a couple of different ones there. Other equipment you're going to need: a foul-proof protector to protect the lower areas. Running my first Boxercise class in the morning, can't wait, good luck to you. The other thing you're going to need is a mouth guard. This is absolutely vital. Never spar without a mouth guard. That said, if you ever get caught and you don't have a mouth guard, if there's ever, not that you're sparring, but if you ever get caught in a real fight, get a sock and shove it in your gob. It stops your teeth from getting smashed to pieces. I know that that's nothing to do with boxing, but a sock makes a half decent mouth guard if you ever need it. A properly fitted mouth guard, not one of these rubbish boil and bite things. Get a proper one. This is going to stop you getting knocked out if you've got a decent mouth guard. So a foul-proof protector, now that goes round here. Now the other thing about sparring is you don't want someone punching below the belt. So this isn't an ideal coloured top, but if you've got black bottoms, what you need to do is you need to tuck in like this, your top, and pull up your waistband to your belly button, which is here on me, and then that there is where the target area is going to be. So what we want is we've got to have a clear division line just there. Someone else asking questions? Mouth guard, yes, you need it. Street fighting, I hit everywhere. Congratulations, I'm sure that's really tough of you. So you need gloves, mouth guard, foul-proof protector. Now, there are different types of sparring. This is an important thing. There's what a lot of you will see on TV, or on YouTube, and what you're looking at there is you're looking at open sparring. Now, open sparring is where pretty much it's what we'd call a hard spar or a competitive spar, where two fighters are fighting to the absolute limit of their ability. Or what you can find is if there's a mismatch either in weight or ability, what you'll do is one fighter will fight to the top of their level and the other fighter will just raise up to the same level like that. And this is called working to a level. Now, if that's what's agreed and one fighter goes above that level, this is what we call in boxing taking a liberty. Liberties are never to be taken. It's very important that we never do this. A few questions. Grandma told me I hit like a bitch when I gave her a hook to the jaw. That's hilarious, absolutely hilarious. Nothing to do with what we're talking about. And you're blocked. Goodbye. So, the other type of sparring is called conditioned sparring or light sparring. I like to call this technique sparring. So if I was sparring against you, I may only be throwing a jab and you're allowed to throw any punches you want. I can just throw the jab and defend. So this gives you a chance to spar against somebody who's more experienced. Now, often you think, oh no, I don't want to spar against someone that's experienced because that person may injure me. That's not going to happen because they have so much experience that they will keep their punches power down. They won't injure you and they will just move around and give you a chance to learn without actually hurting you. And where are we? We'll block that idiot too. And so it's very important that you have no liberties taken. Liberties means you're taking the piss out of someone. Now, the other thing that you do before you start sparring, as you come out, you always touch gloves. Not close hug. Do it from a distance. Don't get too close to the guy. Because all you do is you touch, you take one step back, and off you go. So don't be hanging around there. Be ready to fight when you touch gloves. You always touch gloves at the end too. It's as a mark of respect. And it's just a touch. Not like this, usually just a quick touch of your jab hands. That's it. That's enough respect is shown then. Now, the other thing I've got to mention is when you shouldn't start sparring until. Now, you shouldn't start sparring until you can defend. It's not just enough to be able to throw punches. That's great, but if you can't defend, you're not ready to spar yet. Remember, it's a learning process. We'll learn the punches, we'll learn the defense, we'll learn the footwork, and then we'll begin sparring. So you need to be able to slip, you need to be able to duck and to roll, you need to be able to sway back or lay back, you need to be able to parry a shot, you need to be able to block a shot. If you can't do all of those skills confidently, then you shouldn't be sparring yet. You need to learn those skills first before you do that. The other thing I insist that people would learn and know before they do it is rotational footwork. Being able to move around like this, not just moving forwards and backwards. If you can't do rotational footwork, you're not ready to spar. And the other thing, hopefully I can get this to catch my foot in here. The other thing that you should be able to do as an absolute minimum is to be able to land the foot and the jab at precisely the same time. Now another thing as well is that as you throw your jab should be a secret jab. You know, they shouldn't be going out and so someone can see it. You've got to have a decent enough jab, otherwise there's just no point in sparring. You'll see lots of videos on YouTube of people doing this, where quite frankly you just see people smashing into each other like this, and they've got no idea. This is why we wear head guards, not to protect against the punch. It doesn't really help you much with punch resistance, so don't expect it to. What the head guard does is when two beginners or an orthodox and southpaw quite often move in and out of the same space because they're competing for the same space, an orthodox and a southpaw boxer, and quite often you'll get a clash of heads. Now the head guard is designed for that. Often when we're training for a fight, the last couple of weeks, 2-3 weeks, we will wear a head guard in sparring before that, because what we don't want is we don't want to pick up a cut before a fight. But often sparring is done without head guards as well, because it just makes it a bigger target of your head. I personally hate them. I've never used them more than once or twice in my career, but I'm not a fan of them. So it's your choice whether you use one of those as well. Now, the thing to bear in mind when you are sparring is, like I said, it's a learning experience, and this is where the learning is done. This is the big point about sparring. It's the first time that you're dealing with forced errors. An error forced by your opponent is what I mean by that. Now, if you're sparring and, if you're hitting pads or hitting a bag and you make a mistake, there's only you that's made a mistake. And that's something that you work on your technique on. You work on that technique until you don't make any mistakes, and then you start sparring. Because if I make a mistake, like I throw my shot out like this and drop my hand, my opponent could hit me here. If, however, when I throw my shot like this and my opponent parries it down and hits me back there, well, that's a forced error, and that's the difference. And that's the difference in between sparring and pad work, that you're dealing with forced errors for the first time. So you should have very good technique, and you shouldn't be making any unforced errors before you start sparring. That's my advice to you. And also make sure that the coach is well and truly in command of the session. If it's just you and your mate sparring, you might just get injured, and we don't want that to happen. Remember, it's a learning experience. So you need gloves, a mouth guard, preferably a head guard, foul-proof protector, definitely, you'll need all of those things. You need to tuck this in so that you've got a clearly defined belt here, and then no punches are allowed to stray below the belt. And then it should be very carefully supervised by a decent coach. Before I finish, any questions? I know we had a couple of idiots put in comments on before, but you won't see this if you're watching the replay, because some of the people were telling me how hard their brother or sister hits or something like that. And quite frankly, it doesn't matter, because in sparring or in boxing, it doesn't matter how hard you hit if you can't hit the other person, because it's like kind of a bit of a prerequisite. So no questions? Right, I hope you've enjoyed that Pericast. I'll do another one next Friday. My apologies that this one's a bit early, but I had a lot on this afternoon, so I will come back next week and do something different. I'd like you guys to suggest to me what you want me to cover, and I'll bring something back. Thanks, Andy. No problem, Alan Gear. It's a pleasure to have you here. Thanks, guys. Cheers. See you later.